WHIO TV. April 3rd, 1974. A day of destruction.
The storm is severe, a massive storm. Track indicated by the hook in our radar screen is now moving into the city of Xenia.
You never forget it. I don't care if you live 100 years after that. You never forget it.
I still have dreams. Not about the same tornado, but I have dreams about a tornado coming after me, and I don't know where to go.
Lives lost, possessions perished.
God told me that he spared the children and myself because Clyde gave his life.
20 years later, the images remain, and the Miami Valley remembers what it lost on that deadly day in 1974.
Good evening and welcome to this News Center 7 special report. 20 years ago, April 3rd, nature dropped a bomb on Greene County.
Coming up, we will relive the day and the emotions that go with it. Let's take a look at what's ahead in the next hour.
At one point, it was a twister the size of 20 football fields, plowing a path through Xenia, sparing very little. The destructive force splintered buildings, leaving a landscape scarred by its power. We'll trace its path.
Along the path of destruction, the same stories of escape and death. Young and old die violent deaths. Coming up, you'll hear heartbreaking stories of loss.
Confused and only a child, the trauma the children experienced is only a blink away today. This child shares that day with us 20 years later.
So no matter where you were or how it affected you personally, you still have a story to tell about that day.
Where were you? Xenia remembers, and you will too. We begin our special program smack in the middle of the tornado's path with News Center 7's Jim Baldridge.
Good evening, Cheryl and Ken. I'm in an area I spent a lot of time the night after and the days after that tornado. I'm in front of Warner Junior High School in Xenia. It's in Xenia's Arrowhead subdivision, one of the first areas to be hit by that storm. Warner Junior High was heavily damaged. It has since been rebuilt. This is what it looked like the day after the deadly tornado roared through Xenia. Classes were over for the day when the storm hit, but a sports banquet was planned for just a few hours after the tornado struck. It struck Wednesday afternoon, April 3rd, 1974. The clock stopped at 4:40 p.m., and at that moment, time stopped in the city of 27,000. A small southwest Ohio town, 1974. It looks like 1944. Bomb-struck devastation seen in the newsreels of World War II.
Everybody out of there? They're out of there now.
Debris dangles from rooftops, trees, and anything left standing. Xenia is almost unrecognizable. Confused and in shock, people wander the streets looking for the dead, the dying, and the survivors. 32 people die in the wreckage. Rescue crews and loved ones find their bodies. 3 out of every 4 homes in the Arrowhead subdivision suffered damage beyond repair. And the storm also wounds the economic base of Xenia. 159 businesses demolished. More than 2,000 people left temporarily unemployed. Xenia's largest employer, the Kroller Furniture Store, falls victim to heavy damage. Xenia's economy is now severely handicapped. And so are the people. Lifelong residents find it difficult to find their way around because familiar landmarks are obliterated. The storm's onslaught knows no boundaries. 9 churches are demolished, but area clergymen pull together to restore faith. They formed the Interfaith Council of Greene County. It will be years before Xenia is back to normalcy. WHIO TV's early weather radar picked up the funnel cloud near Middletown. We gave the first warning. The actual tornado was first spotted by eye over Centerville. From that moment until the savaging of Xenia was finished, 20 minutes went by. Later, News Center 7's meteorologist Heidi Sonen will track the actual path of the killer tornado. Most Xenia residents will be affected forever by the tornado, especially those who lost loved ones. As Sallie Taylor reports, 32 residents died in that twister, and their families will never be the same.
You never forget it. I don't care if you live 100 years after that. You never forget it.
It is the tornado. As the twister tore through the town of Xenia, it tore apart families. They could do nothing but watch the tornado come closer and closer. Florence Marlin picked up the phone and called her 22-year-old daughter, who was living across town with her husband.
I told her to come home, and she said they would, and then she hollered and said, Mommy, it's coming right at us.
Donald Marlin jumped in the car and drove to his daughter's home. This is the sight that surrounded him.
I always figured she was already dead. I had that figured out already. I just wanted to find her. We couldn't tell where the house was. We just walked around, and then I spotted something laying, about 20 feet away. I know when it was her, laying there, just like she was laying there asleep. That dust all over the room, and I wiped her face off. That was too hard to look at, I'll tell you, but you have to look at it, you know. I straightened her hair up and covered her up.
Joyce Benkin laid beside two others who had died. The Marlins not only lost their daughter, but grandchild. Joyce was to have a child in just 2 weeks.
I've always felt like I was a boy. I don't know why, but I always felt like it was a little boy, but we really didn't know.
Joyce Benkin's memory lives on here in Xenia, along with the 31 other people who lost their lives. This cornerstone at City Hall will remind everyone forever of the tremendous tragedy of the tornado. The top right column bears the name of Clyde Hyatt.
When he left, I'll never forget the words he said, because he said, Mom, someday you'll know how much I love you. He gave me a big kiss by the refrigerator, and 2 hours later he was gone.
Clyde Hyatt died a hero. He was leaving work to go home after hearing about the tornado. He stopped on the way to save the life of a child.
He ran out and the debris was flying worse, so he threw his body on this little girl that was 8 years old, and he saved her life. I searched for years to find the little girl, and with no success. I really feel that someday she'll come and tell me on her own that she was the one that my husband saved.
Mrs. Hyatt says she would hug the young woman who is now 28. She's proud of her husband, although his death is far from easy.
I don't really believe that my children or I, either one, have really accepted my husband's death. I didn't want to live. All I wanted to do was die. And as the years go by, it gets harder and harder. And I love him more today than I did the day he died. Sad, but it's true.
Mrs. Hyatt says her husband is always with her in spirit. As for Mr. Marlin, his daughter is always with him.
I don't want to forget it. I wouldn't take it out for nothing. I still look out and expect to see her walk up the steps.
Not only did 32 Xenia residents die, but 2 National Guardsmen's lives were taken just a few days later in a fire during the cleanup. When tragedy strikes, often those affected the most say the least. In this case, we're talking about the children who lived through the Xenia tornado. We continue our coverage of the 20th anniversary of the Day of Destruction with Natasha King. Natasha relives the tragedy through the eyes of a child.
A long time.
Annette Charles was only 5 years old, but she could tell by the look on her father's face that something was terribly wrong.
Sheer terror was what it actually was, but to me, it seemed like anger or panic. He didn't know what was going on, you know, and I was petrified.
Larry Charles's expression was justified. Minutes later, one of the worst tornadoes in Ohio history touched down in Xenia's Arrowhead community, leaving behind dozens of casualties and millions in damages.
I remember hearing a loud clap of thunder, what I thought was thunder, what in actuality was a tornado, a house exploding from the vacuum.
The Charleses were lucky. Their home was damaged but still standing when the storm ended. But they were not prepared for what lay as close as a neighbor away.
We went around the corner to the next block, and I was lost. I didn't know where I was, because nothing. Being a child, I had associated everything with so-and-so lived in this house, and this house was, and there was no houses.
Like wood splitting, glass breaking. We could hear the carpet ripping apart. And we had a big maple tree out in the front yard. And I remember hearing that rip out of the yard.
Melissa Caserta was just a week away from her 10th birthday when her family was forced to take cover in the basement. Within a matter of seconds, her home lay in bits and pieces all around her.
I couldn't find anything that I could recognize as my own. They found my glasses in the driveway. I was wearing glasses. And they found my glasses in the driveway, the frames. But the lenses had been sucked out somehow. And I didn't even have any glasses. And I didn't have any clothes. And we didn't have any furniture. I mean, we had nothing.
Melissa Caserta lost a lot more than her home and belongings on that dreadful day in 1974. She lost a sense of peace of mind. And in the weeks, months, and even years to follow, she carried those memories with her.
I mean, even now, I remember it like it was about 2 weeks ago. I can still hear everything. I can hear it. And I still have dreams.
More than half of the schools in Xenia were destroyed or unusable. That forced the teachers and the children out of their classrooms. But surprisingly, the children missed only 4 days of school. A little later, we'll tell you how. April 3rd, 1974 began as any day would begin in this Greene County community. But what occurred at 4:40 in the afternoon changed this town and changed lives here forever. Reporter Shawn spoke with Xenia residents as they look back 20 years and remember where they were when it all began.
But I really wasn't thinking that it really would happen. But within 10 minutes after we got home, then we had spotted the cloud.
I was sewing and my children were watching television and I heard some news come over about tornadoes and I went to see what was going on. With that, the lights went out in our house and I heard what sounded to me like an airplane.
And then I noticed something peculiar. I saw what looked to be tiny little wisps of steam coming down out of the clouds. I saw 2 or 3 of them. And my brain sort of went into gear and I said, where have I seen that before?
And we could see all the swirling and we could see all these birds out in front of this terrible swirling cloud.
Some people call it a freight train. A lot of people say it sounds like a train. To me, it sounded like an airplane flying very, very low and very loud, and I couldn't imagine what a plane would be doing out that low and that loud in that atmosphere, because it was raining, just pouring, and I thought, what is that thing doing? And all of a sudden I realized that was not what that was at all.
Over the Arrowhead section of town, they darkened, and I said, they've picked up debris, you know. And then the things sort of merged as they traveled into town. Now I thought, oh, those poor devils uptown, you know. I says, I should try to warn somebody, but I was absolutely panicking who to call. And I said, hey, by this time the thing's up there.
Everybody was tuned to the radio 24 hours a day virtually, and they would say, this family is all right, that family is all right, this family needs help, this family is something else. And this is how we kept track of our friends, how people were, and what was needed.
You look where the trees used to be, and also you look in the pictures of the homes and the businesses that were lost, and it's difficult.
I still get rather apprehensive when there are tornado warnings, or tornado watch calls on the weather. I watch closely.
So no matter where you were or how it affected you personally, you still have a story to tell about that day. Everybody that was here, I think, has not forgotten, and I don't think it will ever be totally forgotten. It was a very momentous time in our lives, something that you remember.
And I'm Shawn reporting now from downtown Xenia. Standing in the path this storm took nearly 20 years ago, witnesses say it was about 6 blocks wide. Witnesses also say, Jim, that of course this town will absolutely never be the same in many ways. They say that no one will ever forget the devastation caused by this storm, and no one will ever forget the human bonds made during the reconstruction.
of Xenia. Also, Jim, of course, no one will ever forget exactly where they were and exactly what they were doing the moment this storm hit. Jim?
I certainly won't. Of the people you interviewed, Shawn, what memory stands out the most?
That's an interesting question because there's so many different stories that I heard in doing this piece, but many people had one thing in common. They said they could not believe that they could not recognize their own hometown. Even though they had grown up here, they could not recognize one street from the next. Also, Jim, another interesting point is that although people will never forget this storm, people certainly don't like talking about it very much.
Indeed. Thank you, Shawn Lay. Another person who vividly remembers the tornado is resident Jan Poyles. Mrs. Poyles joins me now with some of her vivid memories of a very unusual day at the supermarket. In fact, that's where you were, and you just come from this school, I understand, when the tornado struck, Mrs. Poyles.
Yes, that is right. Went to actually Majors, stopped there to get a pattern actually for a student, and one of the student's mother said to me, did I hear there was going to be a storm? And I said, no, I didn't. And she says, well, she heard there was going to be a storm, and I just thought it was going to be a rainstorm like we often have in April. And I said, oh, I better hurry on over and get milk and a couple groceries and hurry on home. So I hurried over to Kennedy's Corners, the super value store, and they're on the corner, and they had just put lovely plate glass windows all around the store and remodeled the store, and so I had gotten a gallon of milk and a couple horse magazines because my kids showed horses at the time, and went up to the cash register, was standing in line to go to pay for my merchandise, and manager came running to the front of the store and says, drop everything, cashiers, don't ask any questions, everybody move to the back of the store as fast as you can go, don't ask questions. Sound like he was a colonel from the Air Force.
And minutes later, you were right in the path of that storm, and the glass, I imagine, started breaking.
Exactly, exactly. In fact, there had to be someone watching over all of us in the store because none of us met our maker at that time, but we certainly could have. There was a huge cabinet that fell just to the side as the wind pushed me down, and some others were ahead of me going to the back of the store that had made it farther than I, and all the glass was pulverized. And in fact, I had glass in my shoes, which I discovered out in the parking lot, which when I finally got out there, I'd never walked over groceries before, and that was not what I would like to do, is walk over all these groceries that were just spread every place. I tried to find the milk cabinet to put the milk back, but I couldn't find that, and I looked for the door.
A confusing time, a confusing and frightening time for you. And the school, of course, was out for a while, but the kids went back to school eventually, and you were instrumental in getting the educational system going again here, and a terrible thing to live through. Mrs. Poyles, thank you so much for joining us. It's good to have you here 20 years later.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Nice being with you.
April 3rd was not only a terrible day for Xenia, for more than 100 tornadoes touched down around the country that day. Let's go back now to News Center 7 for more on that story. Cheryl and Ken?
Thanks, Jim. April 3rd is a case study for any meteorologist.
Chief Meteorologist Heidi Sonen now joins us now with a look at the killer day of 1974. Heidi?
I remember it well. I was living in western Pennsylvania at the time, but it wasn't until my college meteorology classes that I learned it was the worst tornado outbreak in history. As bad as it was, it could have been a lot worse if it wasn't for the heroic efforts of the Channel 7 weatherman at the time, the late Gil Whitney. Some of the video you're about to see is old and battered. Here's what Gil told you 20 years ago.
Here's a weather bulletin from WHIO's Instant Weather Radar station. Instant Weather Radar now shows a tornado developing in northeastern Warren County. Let's take a look at it. At 50 miles, the tornado is indicated by that strong echo to the southeast corner of the center of the screen. That familiar 6 hook now developing off the bottom of that tornado, thunderstorm rather. The track apparently is taking it from northeastern Warren County into southeastern Montgomery County into central Greene County.
Gil is credited with saving possibly hundreds of lives by alerting viewers of the possibility of a tornado before it even touched down.
This storm is severe, a massive storm. The track indicated by the hook in our radar screen is now moving into the city of Xenia. Persons in the city of Xenia and along the track just south of it, Arrowhead, Xenia, Central State, should take cover immediately.
It was indeed massive. While Gil was pointing it out on radar, a young high school student shot these pictures as it first touched down in Xenia. This woman survived the twister and gave this account.
It was just a big roar, and I don't know. It was just terrible. terrible. It sounded like a big train whistle, and we were right underneath the front of it.
This map shows the 16-mile path of destruction left behind by the Xenia tornado. Now, tornado touched down just southeast of Bellbrook before heading northeast at speeds of 50 miles an hour, with wind speeds in the twister estimated as high as 300 miles per hour. Now, by the time it hit the Arrowhead subdivision in the southwest part of Xenia, it was cutting a path 1.25 miles wide. The storm blew through town in just 4 minutes and then continued northeast along Route 42 to devastate Central State University. Xenia was the worst hit area, but on that day there were 147 other tornadoes reported across 13 states and parts of Canada, as this next map shows. The first tornado touched down on April 3rd at 9:30 near Morris, Illinois. The last touchdown was the next day on April 4th around 9 a.m. in Lenore, North Carolina. Now, in that 24-hour period, 315 people lost their lives. Over 5,500 people were injured, and 27,000 were left homeless. Kentucky was also hard hit. This film was taken of a tornado going through downtown Louisville on the same day. 31 people died just southwest of Louisville in Brandenburg, Kentucky. Now, during the 13-state tornado outbreak that meteorologists now refer to as the super outbreak, Ohio was the hardest hit state. $150 million in damage occurred in Ohio, and half of that came from one small town of 27,000 people. You probably can guess where, Xenia.
And those of us who remember it, Heidi, will never forget that day. Thanks.
The super outbreak of April 3rd, 1974 devastated the entire country. It brought a president to the Miami Valley. President Richard Nixon joined Ohio Governor John Gilligan for a tour of tornado-ravaged Xenia. The president walked through the city, surrounded by residents, many who shared their surprise that the president actually came to town. Nixon promised the people he would cut the red tape to the bone to assist them. Ohio Senator Howard Metzenbaum also toured the area.
Stay where you are. When we return, footage never seen before. These pictures were a Greene County man's personal collection. If you think you've seen it all, think again.
Dear parents, even if your car is working perfectly, it's still a dangerous place for a child who doesn't have a car seat. So through Project Safe Baby, Midas is making it easy for everyone to afford a Century car seat for just $42. Our cost. You see, Project Safe Baby isn't about making a profit. It's about making cars safer for children everywhere. That's the Midas way, the way it should be.
Now, just in time for spring and summer, you can buy casual furniture at manufacturers' closeout prices. Factory reps from Homecrest, Malin, and more will be competing for your business with truckloads of casual furniture at closeout prices. In Dayton, sale conducted at Watson, State Route 725, Bellbrook.
Roberts has made a special purchase of quality Serta bedding. Take advantage of 3-piece set savings during Serta Dollar Days. Buy any size or firmness Serta mattress at our special prices and get the matching box spring for $1 and the same size bed frame for $1. Right now, buy Serta bedding and get 12 months same as cash. Plus, Roberts Mattress Express means it goes from our store to your door the very next day. Why bother with all the others when it costs less at Roberts?
Disney's World on Ice presents Beauty and the Beast live at Hara Arena, April 12th through 17th. WHIO TV and Kroger invite you to save $3 on tickets to opening night, Tuesday, April 12th at 7:30 with coupons from Kroger. Tickets are on sale at the box office and all Ticketmaster outlets, or call 228-2323 to charge by phone. Don't miss the fun and savings with WHIO TV and Kroger on opening night at Beauty and the Beast. Just wait till you see it on ice.
Life Choices is the TV show for people who want to lead healthy, fulfilling lives. Each week, take 30 minutes for yourself and tune into Life Choices with Erie Chapman.
Life Choices, brought to you by Miami Valley Hospital, the region's leader.
Central State University in shambles. The twister tears through campus with a death grip. By now, the tornado ripped apart lives and homes, but Cheryl, the destruction hit places with history as well, snatching not only the present, but the past.
One such location was a place of higher education that learned a tough lesson from a tough twister. wasn't the only place ripped apart by this tornado. Just 10 miles up the road, Central State University in Wilberforce was heavily damaged. Walter Sellers was there. He's now retired, but at the time he was a university administrator. He'll never forget that day.
There was a terrific roar. Then there was a complete silence. I emerged from the basement of Bundy Hall through destruction, and ran into then the president of Central State University, Dr. Lionel H. Newsom. We emerged from Bundy Hall together. The sight that our eyes beheld was unbelievable. Any direction that you looked into was complete destruction.
This tower standing now also stood then. It survived the twister. It's now preserved in this new alumni building. Nearly every other building on this campus was taken by the strong winds which swept through Wilberforce that afternoon. But strangely, some say the tornado may have been a gift from above.
I personally believe that for Central State University and its growth in its future, the tornado was a blessing in disguise. The university was faced with a number of old and dilapidated buildings, which were very expensive to maintain.
And now today, 20 years later, students walk a beautiful campus, some not even knowing about the day the university suffered a tremendous loss.
But out of this came a new campus, new facilities, which we were able to provide better educational opportunities for the young men and young women that matriculated here at the university.
Central State University suffered an estimated $100 million worth of damage. About 2,000 students were enrolled at the university in 1974. Neighboring Wilberforce University was hit, but not nearly as hard as Central State. A dorm on the university's original site suffered enough damage that today it still stands empty, too dangerous for repairs. The administration building still shows scars of the fierce winds, and the top 3 stories are no longer used because of damage caused by the tornado. The university reported some broken windows and a few uprooted trees. 808 students were on campus at the time of the tornado.
Wright-Patterson Air Force Base played a major role in the Xenia disaster. The base moved in quickly and gave much-needed assistance.
Is disaster management. I'm the command disaster preparedness manager. I live and die for disasters.
On that fateful day 20 years ago, Mike Burdo responded to the disaster of a lifetime. He was the man in charge of coordinating the relief from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
I was totally amazed at the devastation. I had never seen that much damage in one location in my entire life, and indeed have not seen it since.
In the storm's immediate aftermath, he helped coordinate not only manpower, but also heavy equipment to the Xenia area.
20 years ago, there was a set of railroad tracks here that crossed Route 35. When the tornado struck, it was so powerful that it picked up a moving freight train and knocked it on its side, blocking not only Route 35, but also the city of Xenia from important supplies. The first line of action for Wright-Patterson Air Force Base was to remove that train and to clear up the road to allow supplies to get into Xenia.
Wright-Pat's first mission was to mobilize heavy equipment to move the train and clear a route for emergency supplies to get to needed areas in the city. The base also supplied power from the air, helicopters to bring in food and medical supplies.
And this was a very, very tricky operation because the pilot of the helicopter had some very, very dangerous weather to fly in.
The relief from the Air Force Base was virtually immediate and continued for several weeks and months. Reconnaissance planes provided aerial pictures of the storm's devastation, while the base itself served as a center for humanitarian relief.
There was a call for blood donors, and I recall the blood donor center had in excess of 500 people in line waiting to donate blood. I can recall and still have a sense of pride in the way the military organization from Wright-Patterson responded and supported and helped Xenia out of their mess at the time.
Many helped Xenia dig out. Communication was completely shut off, and ham radio operators came in and took charge, helping get the word out for immediate help. The ham operators are credited with helping fire and police establish communications quickly.
Ken, that call for help was loud and clear. Firefighter Elwood Tobias was there. He's with Jim Baldridge now in Xenia. Jim?
Cheryl and Ken, not only was Elwood here, he was at ground zero right in this very area when the tornado swept by. In fact, you were about the only building that didn't get wiped out, and it was partially wiped out.
That's correct.
You were in firehouse number 2 by the bowling alley.
Yes, sir.
Tell me what you heard, what you felt, the moment, the warning you got, I assume, coming the moments before, and then what it sounded when the tornado went through, Elwood.
Well, myself and 2 other firefighters were at Station 2, and at that time, we were trying to keep in communication with the dispatcher as far as what was going on as far as the tornado approaching our area. And I stood at the back of the firehouse watching the tornado come from the southwest. And what I saw were 3 tornadoes that appeared to separate, and then come to one, and then it would disappear entirely. And I thought that maybe it had gone, but then it would appear again, being the nature of them. And pretty quickly, I thought that maybe it was over, and then I noticed a lot of debris right over my head.
You were in something approaching shock at this point, weren't you?
Oh, yes, pretty much so.
What sounds did you hear? The sound was incredible.
Well, after I had decided that I was looking straight up at a funnel, I ran inside the firehouse and hit the floor within about 5 seconds. And my experience is that it was like a freight train running over you. All the noise and the vibration, and
then you had to pick yourself up and go rescue other people. Firefighter Elwood Tobias, thank you for sharing your experiences with us 20 years ago. There is still much more to come in this special report. Stay with us.
The sound of severe weather still strikes fear. It was 20 years ago, but for some, it's a fear that won't go away. Day of Destruction continues.
Attention, everyone who owns a car, rust is on the way. And if you think a manufacturer's warranty is going to stop it, just look around. All these cars have manufacturer's warranties. But there is something that can stop rust. Right now, get 50% off our special protection package. Save at least $269 on rust protection and Protect to Shine premium paint sealant. That's 50% off for new and used cars from $269. See your Z-Bart Tidy Car dealer now.
Walt Disney's World on Ice presents Beauty and the Beast live at Hara Arena, April 12th through 17th. WHIO TV and Kroger invite you to save $3 on tickets to opening night, Tuesday, April 12th at 7:30 with coupons from Kroger. Tickets are on sale at the box office and all Ticketmaster outlets, or call 228-2323 to charge by phone. Don't miss the fun and savings with WHIO TV and Kroger on opening night at Beauty and the Beast. Just wait till you see it on ice.
Friday and Saturday, save big during the Moonlight Easter Sale at Value City, featuring part of a $5 million outdoor furniture spectacular, including cushion-padded chairs and rockers. Compare $93 to $130. Chairs only $39.99. Rockers $69.99. Deluxe glass-top patio tables. Compare $150. Now only $79.99. And this 30,000 BTU gas grill. Compare $190. Now only $119.99. Shop Friday till 11 p.m. Shop early Saturday at 8 a.m. during the Moonlight Easter Sale at Value City Department Stores.
Celebrate the feeling, Liberty Christian Cathedral.
If you're looking for something new and fresh that will give new meaning and purpose to your life, join with us at Liberty Christian Cathedral Easter Sunday, April the 3rd for our celebration service at 10 a.m. You'll discover that God loves you and has a plan custom designed just for you. Liberty Christian Cathedral, I-75 at Main.
Most tailors agree. A good suit costs $200 to $300. So when our buyers told me they'd purchase thousands of handsome suits, we could sell at 2 for $200, I was skeptical. Then I tried one on. Expert tailoring, fully lined, a wool blend fabric, and plenty in your size at 2 for $200. Hard to believe? Come to S&K. You'll be pleasantly surprised. 2 good suits, $200.
Shop S&K Menswear in Lazarus Kettering Shopping Center.
people were just coming out of their house looking all around, just dazed, you know.
Feeling the aftershock. Some still feel it today, 20 years later. Just after the tornado, experts fear what's to come to the city of Xenia.
Thousands of lives are about to change in the aftermath of the storm. The memories never go away, and for many, the fear never does either.
Health Beat reporter Dr. Stanley joins us now to explain just how traumatic a storm of this magnitude can be to us. Dr. Stanley?
Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Ken. The trauma can be real. Imagine living through a storm that physically tosses you and your home around without mercy. Then the winds die down, but the damage is done. Your home is in shambles, maybe even a family member injured or killed. This is what the people of Xenia are dealing with. The memory's still vivid, even though the fear slowly subsides. The beauty and majesty of a historic home, reduced in minutes to debris and despair for William and Virginia Schmidt. This house, built by William's grandfather in 1912, stood prominently in Xenia for years, until the 1974 tornado ripped off its roof, turning much of the third and fourth floors into rubble.
I just got through the back kitchen when it hit that room and took the roof off.
The Schmidts instantly became part of an entire community dealing with loss and the long task of rebuilding.
But we were just so busy that we really didn't have time to be scared or be worried. You just figure, well, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen, you see.
The Schmidts were lucky. At first there was fear, but they quickly overcame it. They did this by keeping busy and rebuilding a piece of family history. Some victims aren't so lucky. They relive their trauma over and over again, oftentimes feeling out of control, like they have no power over their lives. Psychologists say the key to overcoming fear of tornadoes is early intervention.
The early intervention is very important. What we're seeing is the earlier the intervention, the more likely that people will resolve the trauma in a way that helps them cope in the long term.
Most Xenia tornado victims will never forget what happened. They always keep an eye on the sky and their thoughts on the severe spring weather season.
Well, this time of year you wonder, and you think about it all the time, really.
But 20 years later, it somehow becomes easier to think back and remember some horror stories that today you can smile about.
I was getting dinner right away after I got home. I thought, well, I have to get something for the family to eat, you know, and we're going to have liver and onions. I'll never have liver and onions again. I didn't have it that night either.
It's important for victims of trauma, in this case or tornado, to slowly get back into a routine. This way you feel like your life is on track and controllable. You might also set goals for yourself and your family, something to work towards and accomplish.
Dr. Stanley, does the family unit play a role in getting lives back on track?
Sure does, Cheryl. It's certainly a support system, whether it be a family or a friend or even any kind of support group like coworkers. Anyone who shares the same experience can help you through the trauma and provide support and comfort.
Dr. Stanley, thank you.
Thank you.
Emotionally and financially, the city of Xenia was drained. When we return, you'll meet some people whose generosity deserves recognition.
Way to go is the way to save.
It's easy. 1-800. Way to go.
Way to go is energy smart, money wise.
If your second-old refrigerator or freezer is just using up energy, give DP&L a call. We'll pick it up and safely dispose of it, all for free. It's the way to go.
Hot tips, who cares?
Well, like they say on TV, it's the way to go.
Call 1-800-WAY-TO-GO for more about DP&L's refrigerator freezer pickup program.
You'll think we've lost our minds. It's Moonlight Madness at Roberts. 2 days of incredible prices throughout the store. 42% off all furniture and accessories. Sofas, sectionals, love seats, tables, chairs, recliners, dining room sets, beds, and bedroom sets. Huge savings on the area's largest selection of carpet and rugs. Even madness prices on bedding. 42% off. Use your Roberts charge and enjoy 90 days, same as cash. Catch the Moonlight Madness this Friday and Saturday. Why bother with all the others when it costs less at Roberts?
It's the biggest shoe sale of the season.
The gigantic second pair half-price shoe sale going on now at Value City.
Buy any pair of shoes from our huge name-brand selection and get the second pair for half price. Choose from our entire inventory of Famous Maker dress, casual, and athletic shoes for men, women, boys, and girls.
Buy the first pair of shoes at the everyday low prices.
And get the second pair of shoes for half price.
Don't miss the gigantic second pair half-price shoe sale going on now at all Value City department stores.
Walt Disney's World on Ice presents Beauty and the Beast live at Hara Arena, April 12th through 17th. WHIO TV and Kroger invite you to save $3 on tickets to opening night, Tuesday, April 12th at 7:30 with coupons from Kroger. Tickets are on sale at the box office and all Ticketmaster outlets, or call 228-2323 to charge by phone. Don't miss the fun and savings with WHIO TV and Kroger on opening night at Beauty and the Beast. Just wait till you see it on ice.
Attention, everyone who owns a car. Rust is on the way. And if you think a manufacturer's warranty is going to stop it, just look around. All these cars have manufacturer's warranties. But there is something that can stop rust. Right now, get 50% off our special protection package. Save at least $269 on rust protection and Protect to Shine premium paint sealant. That's 50% off for new and used cars from $269. See your Z-Bart Tidy Car dealer now.
Destroyed school buildings create a huge problem for administrators and students with nowhere to hold class. More than 8,000 students, many without a classroom for learning. Luckily, the school day was over when the tornado hit, but what about the rest of the school year? Xenia school officials had to come up with a plan fast to get the kids back into class. Former Xenia Superintendent Carl Atkins and former Beaver Creek Superintendent William Drury helped devise that plan. Both men are here to join me now. Gentlemen, if you'd step in, and you worked feverishly to come up with a plan to get the learning process started in this destroyed town 20 years ago. Quickly, how did you do it? What were the main points?
Well, we were pleased to have the surrounding superintendents give us a call and offer their assistance. And naturally, with no place to go and no buildings to use, why, we took them up on the offer of use of their facilities. And all of our junior high and high school students were housed in Beaver Creek and Fairborn. And that gave us an opportunity to get those students back in school early, as well as the elementary school, which went on half-day sessions. And we were able to get all 9,000 students back in school within a week and a half, 10 days.
That's amazing, Mr. Atkins. Dr. Drury, what led? Was there any planning in advance, just in case a disaster of this type occurred, that made you folks so apparently ready and willing to spring into action quickly?
Jim, one of the realities of this that kind of surprised us was we were kind of waiting for the outside experts to come in and tell us what the plan was. And when they arrived and began to ask us what the plan was, we knew we were in trouble. So really, you don't really prepare for this kind of an event. I've said to people in the past that if you knew this was going to happen, you'd want 6 months to a year. We had days to make it work, and we fortunately were able to make it work.
How did you fit so many kids into your facilities out there?
Well, it wasn't easy, to say the least. The logistics of that kind of thing with school buses and books and desks and teachers, and how do we get the kids there and how do we get them home, that was a major hurdle to be overcome. And it took a great deal of hard work and effort by a lot of people that were willing to pitch in and really do a superhuman job in terms of making sure that it happened.
It was an extraordinary effort, Mr. Atkins. Were there concerns that the quality would not be there?
Well, yes, but on the other hand, our teaching staff was available. No one was hurt, fortunately, and everyone was available to come back to their regular positions. And through the courtesy of Fairborn and Beaver Creek, we moved in at 3 o'clock in the afternoon when their day ended and went till 8 p.m. in the evening, gave us a 5-hour session, which is the minimum amount of time that you were permitted to get full credit for instruction. And superintendents all over the state offered help. We borrowed buses from everywhere. We went from a 16 fleet here in Xenia to about a 52 fleet transportation program.
It's amazing to see how people will pull together,
right,
even from outside the area at a time like that. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
20 years after that terrible afternoon and evening. Thank you. And we'll be back with more in just a moment.
The day of destruction continues. When we return to the residents of Xenia, it seemed like a case of deja vu. The same story, same month, different year. Severe weather stories from around the Miami Valley when we return.
Hurry to Right Rugs Spring Clean, featuring carpets by Philadelphia. Choose from a huge selection. This level loop only $3.79 a square yard. Carpets at $6.79, $7.89, $9.79. Hurry to Right Rug, 2 blocks east of Salem Mall on Shiloh Springs Road, behind Fridays in the Southtown Center on Route 725, or Upper Valley Pike, Springfield. Right Rug, the guaranteed lowest prices for 59 years.
Now, just in time for spring and summer, you can buy your dream set of outdoor casual furniture, including wicker, aluminum, wrought iron, and umbrellas at manufacturer's closeout prices. That's right. Homecrest, Malin, Lloyd Flanders, and more are coming to the Tri-State with truckloads of merchandise, mostly new in a box, but some discontinued models. Plus, sunblock umbrellas from $59. Special orders will be accepted. Factory reps will be competing for your business. Plus, 6 months, same as cash. This weekend, sale conducted at Watson, State Route 725, Bellbrook.
Imagine a beautiful new kitchen cabinet pack style. Cabinet pack gives new life to your tired old kitchen without the high cost and disruption of traditional remodeling. Just think, a stunning new kitchen can be yours in just a few days and without a big mess. Even better, Cabinet Pack's 23rd anniversary special makes a new kitchen even more affordable. See Reach Magazine for details or stop by our showroom near the Dayton Mall. Call 434-5200 for your free quote. That's 434-5200. Call Cabinet Pack today.
You'll think we've lost our minds. It's Moonlight Madness at Roberts. 2 days of incredible prices throughout the store. 42% off all furniture and accessories. Sofas, sectionals, love seats, tables, chairs, recliners, dining room sets, beds, and bedroom sets. Huge savings on the area's largest selection of carpet and rugs. Even madness prices on bedding. 42% off. Use your Roberts charge and enjoy 90 days, same as cash. Catch the Moonlight Madness this Friday and Saturday. Why bother with all the others when it costs less at Roberts?
Dear Midas, when my wife and I took our car to Alaska, the Adventure did a serious number on our muffler. In Fairbanks, a dealer said,
"We can get you one from Anchorage in a few days."
But at Midas, you had a muffler in stock.
Yeah, we got one of those.
And your serviceman stayed late while his wife and baby waited. So we insisted he take them out on us. Thank you.
Robert and Elaine Harden.
Welcome back to the day of destruction. When the tornado hit, not only did rescue teams swarm to the scene, but so did the media.
Newsletter 7 photographer Chuck Upthegrove was one of the first to arrive, and what he saw he'll never forget.
I was on 35 when the storm hit. There was a report that came over the scanners concerning some wind damage in Xenia. Looking off to my right to Arrowhead, it was more than damage. Where there once were homes, why there was nothing. When I turned into the area, the first thing popped up was there was 2 bodies they had along the curbside covered with blankets. People were looking for their next door neighbors. They was looking for their own families. They were asking you questions of, what about the other side of the town? What about this location, this street? We didn't know. We didn't know how deep in Xenia this damage had taken place. The tornado was so powerful, so wide, that for something to wipe out a small city like this was unbelievable. I spent 3 nights and 4 days in Xenia. First night, though, it was raining during the nighttime, and stopped in the car and just sit there, and the sirens went off. And you're talking about sitting in a car, pitch black, nothing around you. Talking about getting scared. Yeah, I got scared because when the sirens went off, I thought, the second tornado. It's hard to see something like this. It really is. And, you know, you hear people was fixing dinner, and the next minute, they don't even have a home to serve the dinner in. To cover a story like this is, a lot of things touch you. I mean, you're there to do a job, but you see bodies laying along the street, which I did. You see women, mothers carrying their children. You see people going through the rubble looking for their relation, their next of kin. It's hard. It gets to you.
The thoughts and memories of Chuck Up the Grove. Jim Baldridge was a reporter then. He also has some vivid memories, too. Jim, tell us about your experience.
Some of these memories, Ken, are very personal. I was filling in as an anchor with Don Wayne on that stormy afternoon 2 decades ago. After Gil Whitney spotted the funnel cloud on our early weather radar, Don and I watched that hook advance across the radar from Middletown up towards Xenia. It was going to be heading towards Bellbrook, where my wife and I and our new baby daughter lived. And I remember calling my wife every 15 minutes or so and saying, it's there, it's getting closer. And the last time I called, she said, I can see it out the window. That tornado luckily skipped over our home in Bellbrook, and it closed in on Xenia. Later on that night, I was among the first to get into Xenia, and among, I think, my most poignant memories, confused and wandering people, and this, the overwhelming smell of lumber. The smell of lumber from the wood in hundreds of houses that had been torn apart by the storm. I remember looking for survivors and for those who didn't survive and dodging sharp pieces of metal blown by the wind. The enormity of it still touches me, and I think the biggest single emotion I had the first time I saw the wreckage in Xenia was a sense at first of disbelief that this simply couldn't be real. It was an extraordinary night, and none of us who were in any way a part of this will ever forget it. Ken and Cheryl.
Obviously a reporter's dream and a community's nightmare as well, Jim. Thanks for your thoughts. The devastation of the Xenia tornado echoes around the Miami Valley every time that severe weather hits.
Ken, there have been several tornadoes that ripped a path through ripped a path through the Miami Valley over the years, including another one in Xenia during April, but this time in 1989. The twister demolished 8 homes, damaging over 100 more. Luckily, no one was seriously injured that time. The Xenia Armory, damaged during the Xenia tornado, turned into a safe haven for residents left homeless in this tornado's path.
Residents in the small, dark county community of Arcanum are still rebuilding after a tornado hit there on November 22nd, 1993. A quarter of the town was blown away. Residents lost the luxuries as well. No power, no water for days. But most walked away unharmed. The Arcanum Firehouse turned into a place of rest for the hundreds of volunteers who flocked to town to assist.
1 year earlier, in rural Van Wert County, a twister catches residents off guard. The storm blew in along U.S. Route 127 near the Mercer County line. The storm hit shortly after 6 p.m. A state highway patrol officer spotted the funnel cloud and sent out the emergency call. Half a dozen homes damaged. Cars and trees were tossed around like twigs.
And Cheryl, the city by the lake hasn't escaped a tornado's path either. Residents in St. Mary's lived through a tornado's terror in June of 1992. Residents surveyed trees strewn along roadways, heavy damages to homes, and power lines down. The roof of one downtown business was ripped off by the storm's intense power.
When we return, if a tornado strikes, do you know what to do? Be prepared to protect your family. Meteorologist Warren Madden tells you how. His story can save your life.
We gave it to them straight. To compete, we either cut costs, cut waste, or we cut jobs. But then we got some really good help from DP&L. They came in, worked with us to help save money on our energy bill, and then they gave us incentives to hire more people. That means we're saving money instead of spending it, hiring instead of laying off. And that's the way to go for everyone.
DP&L's Work Smart program, saving energy and creating jobs. Call 1-800-WAY-TO-GO to find out more.
Dear parents, even if your car is working perfectly, it's still a dangerous place for a child who doesn't have a car seat. So through Project Safe Baby, Midas is making it easy for everyone to afford a Century car seat for just $42. Our cost. You see, Project Safe Baby isn't about making a profit. It's about making cars safer for children everywhere. That's the Midas way, the way it should be.
Walt Disney's World on Ice presents Beauty and the Beast live at Hera Arena, April 12th through 17th. WHIO TV and Kroger invite you to save $3 on tickets to opening night, Tuesday, April 12th at 7:30 with coupons from Kroger. Tickets are on sale at the box office and all Ticketmaster outlets, or call 228-2323 to charge by phone. Don't miss the fun and savings with WHIO TV and Kroger on opening night at Beauty and the Beast. Just wait till you see it on ice.
WHIO TV Channel 7 would like to thank our Making It in America partners for supporting Miami Valley's economy. To us, our Miami Valley companies are family. And thanks to your support, you're helping to keep our friends and neighbors employed and creating new jobs. And you're helping to keep our companies here at home. By investing in the future, you're helping to build a better Miami Valley for all of us.
Making it in America starts right here at home.
We learned a lot from the Xenia tornado, but experts warn us not to get complacent. Heidi Sonen plays an important part of educating the Miami Valley on tornado safety. Heidi?
Thanks, Cheryl. Many residents of Xenia had little or no warning of the storm that was bearing down on them. Tornadoes can form quickly, and sometimes the warning time is very short. Meteorologist Warren Madden takes a look at some safety rules that you should know in case a tornado catches you by surprise.
Although our ability to forecast severe weather has improved over the last 20 years, planning ahead is still your best defense against nature's fury. The seconds you save by knowing where to go before a tornado strikes could make all the difference. If you are inside your home, the greatest threats to your safety are flying debris and collapsing walls or ceilings. If you have a basement, take shelter in the southwest corner. For those homes without a basement, the safest place is a small room or closet in the center of the first floor of your house. Don't waste time opening windows. Take cover immediately. In schools or offices, move to an interior hallway. Here at WHIO, we've designated several tornado safety areas. Take the time at your workplace to develop a plan so that everyone knows where to go if severe weather threatens. The ceiling of this store in Virginia collapsed when it was struck by a twister. If you are caught in a mall, theater, or other open structure, lie flat under a sturdy table or along a wall with no windows. Mobile homes and cars are extremely vulnerable to a tornado's winds. Don't stay in either. This was once a mobile home park. Don't try to outrun a tornado in your car. A blocked road could make you a sitting target. Finally, if you are caught in the open, lie flat in a ditch or culvert, covering your head to protect it from flying debris.
And as we enter yet another storm season here in the Miami Valley, take a few moments now to review the safety rules. Those will be moments you may not have when the next tornado hits the Miami Valley and affects your community.
Okay, thank you, Heidi. Students in Xenia just made it home by the time the killer tornado hit. But safety from tornadoes at school has become a practiced art. News Center 7 meteorologists traveled to area schools teaching kids about what to do if a tornado strikes. Just last Friday, for example, News Center 7's Warren Madden spoke with students at Warner Junior High School about the dangers of tornadoes. School districts are required to perform tornado drills with marked safety areas for students. News Center 7's weather team is committed to educating students with its annual storm tour. And this year, we'll talk to more than 8,000 students.
For the past hour, we've shown you the devastation that can occur when the elements are right for a tornado.
Just this past week, tornadoes left a deadly path in the south, just as it happened 20 years ago in Xenia. And it can happen again.
If you take anything away from this special report, take this. Tornadoes are deadly, dangerous, and powerful forces.
Take severe weather seriously always, and always stay with News Center 7 for weather coverage you can count on. News Center 7 would like to take a moment to remember the people who lost their lives in the vicious storm that hit here 20 years ago. Thanks for joining us. From Xenia, I'm Jim Baldridge. Good night.
Tonight at 11 on the Night Beat. Shots ring out as a gunman holds police at bay in Harrison Township.
2 of our officers have been shot during an incident with our SWAT team out on North